Welcome to Put a Word on It, a podcast presented by Men of Valor. In each episode, we're going to talk with a different man, but each one with a unique journey from brokenness to freedom. I'm your host, Rudy Kalis. I spent over 40 years as a TV sportscaster, then retired and joined the Men of Valor program as a volunteer. So join the conversation. Reconciling men to God, their families, and society. Welcome to another edition of Put a Word on It, brought to you by Enterprise Solutions. We thank them for their wonderful support of this program. Michael Mangrum, but we all call him Peepaw. What a strange mix. But this man walked in, and you hear his voice, and you hear his story, and you get a sense of a guy who struggled all his life with something he shouldn't have until he found out there's a God who loves him. Here's Michael. So they all call you Peepaw. I laughed. I said, what's that all? How did that come about?
When I was in, what my grandson calls me Peepaw, started calling me Peepaw. I was in prison in TCOM, and there was a young guy there who overheard the conversation that my grandson called me Peepaw. So people in prison at TCOM started calling me Peepaw. Well, I got here August the 15th of last year. He gets here the very next day, and automatically I'm Peepaw to him, then I'm Peepaw to half the people here. Then he comes to the same job that I'm at, and everyone starts calling me Peepaw. There are people there, like I said, that don't even know my real name that are calling me Peepaw. That's how I'm addressed, you know.
You know what? I look at you and I say, I don't even see a guy who was incarcerated at any point. I listen to you, you sound like you could be on radio. Got this beautiful, deep voice. Now, tell me your story a little bit. Where'd you grow up?
Franklin, Tennessee. Not far from here, about 25 miles.
Yeah. Good family?
Good family. My dad was a firefighter. My mother worked in the grocery business for years when I was growing up. And really nothing bad growing up. Big Christmases, great holidays, family get-togethers. But there were just a feeling from at a very young age of inadequacy, not enough. I was a little guy growing up, and one thing that stands out to me at a young age of the feelings of not being enough, you remember Fair Park used to be in Nashville, and they had the sign that you had to be this height to ride the rides, and I was never at that height. I remember being the only kid who wasn't tall enough to get on the rides, and all through early years and adolescent and the teenage years, I just felt like I had to, I don't want to say act out, but I had to do something to be recognized. And eventually, that turned into to drugs and alcohol and breaking the law, and just never felt like I was quite enough. My parents never made me feel like I wasn't
Did
enough.
They know what you were doing?
No,
did you hide it?
Not until the police knocked on the door. They really didn't know, what was going on. I looked like the normal, young guy, teenager and stuff, but it wasn't that. Those feelings and emotions were always there.
Was there a part of you that said you knew that was going to happen, and was there any relief to, all right, it's all on the table now, or not? When the police showed up.
When it came out, no, there wasn't any. It really wasn't any relief. Really, it was a go button. I mean, it just got stronger. Running away from home, rehabs at early years, juvenile detention, and it progressed really fast.
How much time did you do?
Well, I got in trouble the first time at the age 16, and in and out of my first prison sentence, I was 18 years old. I had a 14-year sentence. And I did 4 years or so, got out, went back for a few more years, got out, just in and out for the past 30 some odd years.
How did your family treat you?
They're always there for me, supportive, just wanting the best for me. My brothers and my dad, my mom, they just wanted other than what I was doing. And, broke my mother's heart for a long time to see that.
Did she say things like, what did we do wrong? How did this happen?
She has, yeah, she has. I was born. She was 13 years old when I was born. Very young mother.
Wow.
Yeah, some unfortunate circumstances, and the joke is the reason I'm so short is because she carried me till I was 2 years old. She wouldn't let my feet hit the ground, so my legs wouldn't grow. But yeah, just I never. I was loved beyond looking back what any child would want, but I wasn't available there. I don't know if it's mentally or what to feel that or to see that. It wasn't enough, to overcome those feelings of inadequacy or, some depression there, and it just none of that was ever enough.
Where was God in the middle of all that?
I paid no attention to God whatsoever. I had been to church, maybe once, but I felt I don't know if I should say a calling, but I felt like there was something out there for me. And when I got into the life of crime and the drugs and alcohol, there was no reaching out, for that. It just wasn't there. I believe the lie of the enemy. I believed that I wasn't enough. So until I got to the point that I got to change that, it was miserable,
How did that change happen? Somebody else involved or just you?
Well, it was, there was someone else involved. I got into a relationship, and things started to change for me slowly. They made me feel like I was, wanted and cared for, and there's a better purpose for myself. We were in a relationship for 15 years, and it took a long time to get there. But it opened the door for me to relieve some of those feelings of being inadequate, of being not enough, of, I am somebody and I will be somebody. And I went back to prison a couple of times in that relationship. And when I went this last time when I was out there, well, let me back up. 2017, I found out I was a diabetic. Total life-changing, mindset. I had decided I was going to get my life straightened out. I went to drug court. One day I decided I was going to drink again. And I woke up after I'd went through all my money, sleeping on a box behind Kroger in Franklin off of Hillsborough Road. Being up for 2 or 3 days, just drinking and using drugs. My sugar was so out of whack I couldn't see very well. And that morning, which got me to this point where I'm at now, I prayed to God to something to happen. Please, something happen. I couldn't stop myself. At that point, I really thought that this was going to be the end for me. I wasn't going to make it through this. I prayed for my family. I prayed for God's help. And that morning, coming out of a blackout, I'm in a Kroger store, and long story short, I wound up in handcuffs, sitting in the back of a police car, looking in the mirror where they had flipped the visor down. I could see my reflection in it, and I couldn't do. At that moment, I started to feel more free sitting in that police car with those handcuffs on than I had my entire life up to that point. I felt in my heart that God met me in the back of that police car. God answered my prayer that day. Please help me. Please do for me what I know that I am not capable of doing for myself.
That's so interesting. And now look, you come to Men of Valor. You're staying through the whole year. You now you have a leadership role here as well. Life completely changed, and you now feel you no longer feel those inadequacies.
I do not.
Do you?
I look back on that guy that lived 40 some odd years. I'll be 50 years old this year. That lived that way, and I feel sorry for him. Because those were all lies of the enemy. Those were all, just untruths, and I regret a lot of it. I don't I wish things didn't happen only because of the pain and the misery and the time that I've lost. But because it got me to where I'm at today, I can say that it was worth it. When I started hearing about Men of Valor, I couldn't believe it. I'm reading these papers and I'm thinking, there's no way that's too good to be true. People don't help people like me, that far, that deep, Like I said, I've been in and out of prison for 30-something years, rehabs. I was in institutional mindset, So, freedom was, I could spell it. I know what it meant for other people, but I didn't really know what it was going to mean for me until I got here. Those first 30 days were, I'm waiting for the ball to drop. This has got to be, this isn't real,
Look at you. Well, the name of the program is Put a Word on It.
Yes, sir.
Have you got a word for me?
Hope.
Hope.
Yeah.
That's as good as it gets.
Since I've been here, God's done things for me that, again, I know I don't deserve them. I absolutely don't deserve them. I'm a lead at my job. I'm in a leadership position here. Well, I bought a car. I'm almost 50 years old. I bought one car in my entire life, and that was only because I had won some money. I worked for this car. I pay insurance. I clock in and out on time. I tell the truth. And then that's no pat on my back. That's nothing that I have done, because flesh and blood, me, Michael, I destroy things. I ruin things. And until I surrendered, got out of the way, and got into the Bible and just started listening to some people who'd been through some of the things that I have, I wouldn't be here today,
You're a pleasure to be around, Michael. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
I enjoyed being around him. I'm jealous of his voice. Good gracious, he's got this beautiful voice. He needs to use it for God's glory, and I think he does. He has children, 2 daughters, and grandchildren as well. You talk about a man now who can take that faith that's in him and that love that's in him and pass it on to that next generation. Just a wonderful man to be around. I know he'll be successful. He's a senior, about to graduate. Look out, the world. He's going to come in and make a big difference. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time as we put a word on it.